This is Simon Burnham talking on behalf of the Skill Tracking and Development Project under the ARS SIG for DTR Winter 2018. This is the quarterly update. So this quarter is really spent on working and building on the research that we did last quarter and kind of understanding, okay, now that we have the data, now that we have a general understanding of what students kind of go through when they're going through the process of asking for help in DTR, what can we do to build, or what can we build to help them improve this process, whatever that process might be. So because we started off not understanding what that process was, we kind of spent sprint zero, which is the first sprint of the quarter, spent sprint zero kind of understanding the current state of where the project is at and kind of building a foundation that allow us to test and prototype as we move forward throughout the continuing of the quarter. So that sprint was just spent kind of building up that tech, kind of transferring over the work done from last quarter to work on the live pair research data. So now we can have an up-to-date model of, I guess, the user skill base as we move forward and use that to build interfaces to kind of help students during the help seeking process throughout the rest of the quarter. Cool. So instead of just diving in and building a prototype and building something right off the bat that we think might help the users, it's kind of helped us to spend some time kind of understanding what our users actually wanted and understanding the user pain points that they kind of faced through the help seeking process. So through interviews and just talking to students, particularly new students who enter DTR, who are kind of our target group for right now, between interviewing new students and talking to people, we understood a few of the things that users kind of feel they should do and what they would like to do in DTR but can't really do right now because of certain limitations. So the 4 things that we noticed that users want to use the tools that DTR offers but feel overwhelmed with the amount of organization it takes to keep track of them all. So there are a lot of tools in DTR that are required and kind of are useful for the DTR process, but students feel they're a bit overwhelmed when going through those. Users also want to overcome blockers on their projects, but the lack of experience prevents them from following certain problem-solving behaviors that more experienced students might practice. That was kind of a higher level topic that where if a student is facing a new topic they don't really know how to understand or tackle that well, if they don't ask for help and try to face it on their own, they will, and Flux is turning on, let me turn this off. If students are facing that new task and don't really understand what to do to make progress on that part of the project, they kind of struggle and don't really know the best way to go about things and the best way of going about addressing an issue. Users also want to ask the right people for help, but don't know all the potential people they could reach out to for help. And this is kind of the user pain point that we took and really dove deep into and tried to understand this quarter. Is that students are coming into DTR and don't really understand all the people that can help them on a certain task or people they can reach out to for help in a certain category of work. And because of that, they kind of stick to the same set of people that they reach out to every single time for help. And while this might be okay in the individual case, if you kind of work out to the aggregate case of, okay, we have a lot of students also doing that same thing where, okay, I'm going to ask my professor and my mentor for help because I know they're people that I trust. If that happens over and over again, those people become over-requested in that situation, and that leads to some complications down the line that we're going to see in a bit. But yeah, those are the 3 things that students kind of face and difficulties they face in ARS, which is Agile Research Studios, the model that DTR is based off of. And given that information and given those user pain points and needs, we kind of worked to really see, okay, now that we understand this, what can we do to test and learn more about the situation, and what prototypes can we build to learn more about how users kind of go throughout this process. And around sprint 2, as you can see right here, it was really spent getting ready for the URG, the Undergraduate Research Grant deadline, and kind of building out a document or a proposal that would allow us to receive funding to test this prototype moving forward. Due to some time constraints and due to, I guess, a scheduling of how everything kind of went down, we didn't hit the deadline that we wanted to hit, but kind of going through the process between transferring the Canvas to a cohesive document showed us the risks and the holes that we had in our arguments and gave us a good point moving forward of what we should do to... Cool, so sorry about that, I had to just take care of something really quickly. So given that we went through the process of transferring from our Canvas to a cohesive document, which is the URG draft, that allowed us to understand like the holes that we had in our argument, the kind of the weak points of my Canvas. And since we had that, I could know the best places to kind of focus my efforts from the quarter moving forward. So given that, I learned the scope. I kind of understood better. I had a better understanding of the scope of the research project and my kind of questions that we wanted to ask for this project. The components that you need for a research paper, that kind of things like introduction, study design, all the kind of stuff that you need to put into a paper, things I did not know before, are all things that we kind of also learned from this process, and also the details of testing each part of the system that we wanted to build. So given that information, we went through and we started building prototypes to test and kind of learn more about the situation. And one of the big prototypes that we tested was the Douglas Skill Recommender. So if you look right here on the right side of the screen, we have this Google spreadsheet script that talks to the API that we built in Sprint Zero. And this is all the way for us to kind of show students or try to build an interface that kind of helps students understand who they should reach out to in certain situations for help and what they can do and who should be the best person that they should reach out to in that case. So to give you a little demo, just go to this right here, and let me just fix this up for a bit. This might take a bit just because it's been a while. If I just have to, sorry, go for this again, and then, so it might take a bit to spin up, but let me also make this a bit bigger so we can see it. Cool. I'm just gonna start the server up right now with a little wake up call. Cool. So this is the weekly. This is a spreadsheet that we fill out every single week in DTR, and it's a way for us to conceptualize the biggest blocker in our project this week, a way we can overcome that blocker, given a community resource, and also listing people that we think we should reach out to for help with a certain blocker. So we use this in DTR every week. And it's a good way for students to understand, I guess, like at a high level, like what they should focus on for this sprint or for this week coming up. But if we just refresh this really quickly, and let me just switch to my other account. This is an extension that we built onto this spreadsheet that will help us kind of guide students to make the best decision that they can in a given situation. So the system's called Douglas, and what Douglas does is just that it understands I guess the category or I guess the general skill area of a certain task that you might give it. And given that you have that, it'll return to a list of people that were qualified to help on that certain task. So what does qualified mean in this case? So there are two things that we use. We use one, the Guru list, which is a list of, I guess, experts in certain categories that we have in DTR. So it's like a community managed list that we have somewhere. And it also reaches out to peer research, which is a tool that we use every week, where people with mutual skill and mutual needs and mutual skill levels can kind of match together, and it'll match people who are skilled in a certain area that helps people who need help in that area, and vice versa. So you kind of find optimal matchings between people in the class. So if I just go here and just say, okay, it's first Sprint Zero, and I really need help on Meteor. I don't really know how to reach out to. I'm a new student in DTR. I was in SIG, and my professor and my mentor told me I should do this week. So, okay, I don't really know people, so if I wanted to, I could probably just ask my mentor and my professor what I should do and how they can help me on this and how I set up a time. Or I can go here. Once I understand the blocker, I can copy it, paste it into here, and then get the helpers, or get a list of people who I can reach out to in DTR that can help me on that category, or help me on that task. So as you can see here, we have a list of people who can help me with Meteor and people who can help me in UX, UI design. So the tool is a way for students to come in and see who would be the best use of their time, or who would be the best person to reach out to, or the best people to reach out to for a certain task in the class. So cool, this is all good. We had this prototype, we tested it during a status update, and we saw that it was pretty useful. Students found it very helpful, but there were some issues that came up and things that students felt needed to be fixed before it was a 100% viable use of their time. So one thing that we noticed is that students kind of find it students find it hard to trust the system just because it feels like it's new. So given that, we built a second prototype that lets students kind of understand the reasoning on why certain people return to them. So if I type in the same task and press get helpers, the second iteration kind of grabs more data from peer research and kind of serves it to students at the front so they can understand why certain people are brought up for a certain reason. So now, instead of just getting a list of these people, I can see, so when Hauchi went through this session of peer research and saw this task, he rated it a 4. And when he saw this one, he gave it a 5. So we can see that people just having an average number of, I guess, what their average ratings are in a certain category may be useful, but it might be more useful to kind of show a number and a full task description next to it so students can understand, okay, maybe Hauchi might be a better person to reach out to for something that's similar to this as opposed to something that Josh saw right here as a 4. So just building these improvements and building these add-ons to the system is a way for us to kind of make it, one, more useful to students, and two, give us a better understanding of what really happens during this process and how we can better work with it and better improve it to help students and professors and mentors and everyone else working in this community of people. So very excited to work on this next quarter, and there are some big goals that we're kind of working towards and kind of thinking about. There are big ideas that we're thinking about testing and seeing, and this is the first step of getting there. So thank you. Have a good day, night, evening, wherever it is, wherever you are around the world. Thank you.